Hello, Music Multiverse listeners. Thanks for joining us once again as we go to album review, Saturday's 2025 episode 17. This is your chance to catch up on the newest albums as we review them. We pick them. They're not in order chronologically. Sometimes we go back. Sometimes we go way back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Giving you the idea and construct that you can go to the website. The website has the articles written of the these first three albums we're going to talk about. They're there, links and clever blah, blah, blah by me if you wish to go there. But the reason you're here is to do the extended thing here, which is this version YouTube, where not only do you get my bullshit, but you get damn Deb Armitage Hicks Maloney. That's right. Little Miss can't be wrong. Wait a minute. Nope, that's later. There's a hint. That's why this show is the best, because you get a second opinion. You get you get validity instead of my Chris Farley. Yeah, it was really good. I liked it. You know,
that's me.
Yeah. So while I'm perfect again in every way, like the male version of Mary Poppins, you'll want to listen to what Damn has to say, because that's probably coming from a more realistic point of view of you out there who may have not been as susceptible to everything and anything that I am, right? Yeah. Let's get into this. So episode 17. Always excited to bring you new albums from the year. And this week is no exception. And we dove into three albums and artists that our familiarity with might be minimal, at least. Familiarity, though, helps, though, because some of it has a familiarity. When you talk about the genre, placement, influences, and their overall exquisite delivery of each in their respective music multiverse arenas. We start off with, one is a must when it comes to blues, rockin', and funk soul. Holy crap. There's always a guitarist at the mention, the Ready. And this young lady has been the talk of the town for a little bit of time, and the connection to sound and the expansion of the blues in a variety of directions definitely has its influential makeup in all the right places, and some of those that are maybe not. Then we step into a fantastical, worldly, possessed, mood-centric, progressive space rock from Greece, because that's where space rock goes. It's a full-on audio treat that just allows you to get completely everything you wanted out of a soundscape and indulge in the album start to finish as it unfolds, unlocking all kinds of emotive musicianship. But we'll get there. Then we tie up this week's three with a bombastic energy synth rave passion of a band that leads you into a forest of push and grinding grooves to release yourself and those around you, because it is absolutely necessary to them, and they want you to feel how necessary it should be to you. Release, my friends, in the music multiverse. Release. Let it all go and hear where it might lead you. Although I don't know if you want to go to a rave in the trees. Anyway, then, of course, we'll give you three more on top of that. And I hinted at one, so you'll stick around or you'll fast forward. Let's start off with the mistaken identity. I don't remember. What did I say? I put Grace.
Oh, I can't remember.
But anyway, I don't know what I did. Grace something, but it's another Grace. We've been graced. Grace Bowers and the Hodge Podge wine on Venus. Why on Venus? Because she's not old enough to drink yet. Maybe on Venus they'll let her. So hold on to something. Hold on to someone. Get out your Woodstock shirt, even if you weren't there. Or maybe your favorite Tedeschi Trucks concert shirt from all those years you've been following them around the music multiverse. Or like my wife, where it started with Susan herself. No, not my wife, Susan, the Susan Tedeschi. This is where we are again at the beginning of a greatness. at the pinnacle of a respectful recreation, maybe. This is Grace Bowers. Yes, we've got another great Grace in the music multiverse. If you're following that, there's a Grace Potter. Ooh, pretty good there too.
Mm-hmm.
Grace Bowers, a teenage blues guitarist that is youthfully beyond her years at the helm of, I don't know, at the helm of the sound that's been around since before her grandparents and probably their parents. Uh, Wine on Venus is an excellent, top notch starter 37-minute kickoff that your ear should be all over and then some. The Hodge Podge in 2025, it's a kind of a blues expansiveness, that soul filled dream that doesn't need any setup. It doesn't need a lengthy discussion. Her voice, her guitar timing, and the overall connectiveness to the audience and her exceptional band should have you hooked after one solitary listen. Recipe for this kind of attraction? Well, the ear she has for it. Grace has a command and respect for the instrument at her in her possession at the fingertips. She could share on stage with the likes of Kingfish. I already mentioned Tedeschi Trucks. Samantha Fish maybe is another. She's been on stage with other people, but I'll let Deb probably get into that if she wants to. Her vocal is the truest accompaniment, effortlessly flowing as an extension to the musicians that are surrounding it, as well as that of her guitar. Now, I don't want to get into this whole thing where, whoa, her guitar playing, it's, is it really that exceptional? Hang on a second. She's 18, 19 years old. Exceptional didn't come to Jeff Beck in 30 minutes
Right.
or that of some other people we may not mention. It's the beauty in it all and how easily she directs it all. She's like the female version of Derek Trucks. She's leading everything. The control of it keeps it grounded. It's not overcompensative. She's got the gift, but she's not selling her complete soul. She's not giving it all away now. Wait a minute, not Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's tight. It's cool. It's bombastic in very small places. If she's the female version of Derek Trucks, like I said, this is where it'll go from there. She's not given this Gary Clark Jr. thing where, oh no, where do you go from there? Not a damn inch of this record seems forced in any way, overplayed, or filled. Kudos to Mr. John Osborne, who produced it, for being able to capture it all, because there's a lot going on here. There's no. I don't think there's many tricks to this production, but let's find out from Deb what grace has been bestowed upon her.
Well, I was shocked to find out she was only 18 years old when I started to do my research after listening a couple times. Yeah, she started playing guitar at the age of 9, and her biggest influence at that time was Guns N' Roses, which I kind of find funny. But Slash, he's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But then as she grew older, she grew an appreciation for BB King, and I think that's kind of where we can see that taking over as far as this album goes. She had her Grand Old Opry debut just this year, and on her 18th birthday. And she toured with Gary Clark Jr., who you just mentioned. And her sound is different. She's not a copycat, that's for sure. She's an old soul, I think. She named her album Wine on Venus for her grandmother, who passed away at the age of 100 recently. So I have a feeling that maybe grandma influenced some of her musical tastes, and
Yeah.
I find that very charming that she did that for her. I love when young people embrace their influences and even acknowledge them from their family side. And a lot of times we don't do that until we get older and wiser. um, and so I love this album. It was more funky R&B than
Yeah.
bluesy for me.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. I think I was a little surprised at that, knowing that, I thought maybe it would be leaning more to a countryside with the Grand Old Opry type influence, but still, it was great. Get On Now, Tell Me Why You Do That, Madam President. Didn't she do a couple covers? I thought she did a I thought
Well,
she
I
did
think what it is that, and I'll wrap that way, but
mm-hmm,
dance to the music
mm-hmm,
is
mm-hmm.
covers inclusive into one gigantic piece.
Got it.
At least
Yes.
that's how I heard it, and
Maybe that's why I was confused a little bit because
it
I
was
have
almost
to
like
say,
a
yeah,
montage. Like it looks like
yes.
something that Weird Al Yankovic would do, but she was doing it in a blues section with
Yes,
funk and soul going on
it
like
was
crazy.
fun. It was fun because I don't typically like covers
Mhm.
unless the cover sounds completely different. But I like this, and this is probably why, because it was a montage and it was fun and it was fresh and the whole album was really good. Is this her first album?
Yep.
Wow.
As far as I know, as far as I could go,
Okay.
I'm hoping my
Okay.
music service is holding me accountable, but I
Huh.
can't go down every rabbit hole to double check. But I had this feeling that if there is anything in the past, it's probably in a covers realm or something of that
Hmm.
nature.
Or an EP or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, watch for her touring because I'd love to go see her. I bet she puts on a good show.
Yeah, I would guarantee that almost, especially with what she would toured with Billy Idol too. So yeah, so which we had on album for today, Friday, yeah, day before
Oh,
yesterday.
cool.
He has a new album out.
Nice.
So far, I think I don't know, you'd be hard pressed to find a more engaging, satisfying, and playful recording in the blues environment this year. Although the year's early. This teenager,
Mhm.
that's right, 18, 19 maybe. I don't remember the birth date.
She's 18. I think she's
Okay.
18.
Has a grand reciprocity in her style that's going to fill your ears with everything you'd expect and some virtuosity and creativity within that space to give her a slight signature to start. She's still going, experiencing, and she's definitely going to find a voice of more as she, processes life and times, and that's going to be
Mhm.
great. For now, she's got the right timing, a passion for the life of music and its past, and a stranglehold, no, maybe a stronghold on a front woman delivery that's going to serve her well. To be like this at 18, that's pretty damn good. I would say that she's the higher gods of music will be bestowed upon her, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wine on Venus by Grace Bowers and the Hodge Podge comes at the perfect time and position to dance to the music, as I maybe just referred to, of this pleasure that will definitely have you feeling like Santana and Jeff Beck, both of which don't sing usually or try to sing or anywhere near the vocal tenacity that matches both her and her instrument. So isn't she ahead of them by pure talent?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
Not
see.
just playing guitar, people, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is pushing her toward the top 25 albums of 2025 because of that special talent and that musical inclination. It's audacious, I think, at this point. All right, next up, we take a trip to Greece.
Mm.
Nexatress, album 5, because it's the 5th album, and why not? Roman
Yeah.
numeral them bitches, right?
They love Roman numerals.
Yes, just get it done. It's easy. What do you want to name it? Come on, let's keep it easy, right? The Grecian formula here is heavy cinematic space rock with glorious bits of psychedelic that kind of leans to a very interesting Middle Eastern modality and inclusion of a more worldly sound or more so out of this worldly, maybe. It's kind of rapturous. Rapturous. Yeah, that's a word.
Yeah.
And very inviting to the ear and the progressive standpoint and position the band is in. And they put forth again their 5th album without a record label and bring us everything we could ask for in that presentation, marksmanship of instrument and flow of the record. Grandiose here at this point. Welcome to V. which is probably not the final battle. Yeah, that's right. I'm old enough to know that that what was it, a mini series existed, but um, the foundation for them is my 10 years now. They're not going anywhere. I don't think this is the last frontier for them. There's an overall greatness and experience and trip that the band knows you deserve, and that's exactly what they deliver. It's right off the opening track. You are already into an atmospheric quartet that's in a sphere of progressive space influence. They allow synth-driven background and bass and slide like a slight guitar. They let that just be the background while you, I don't know, this ethereal vocal, we'll call it,
Mm-hmm.
starts off,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you know
Yep.
where you are, and you're going to be on this journey. They bring the guitar rock forward and then fusing you to the nature of familiar influences, but being careful to dazzle with the celestial collective of their signature. It's a beautiful start. It's enrapturing and completely withholding to the soundscape as it moves into Space Keepers, where you have this feeling that the expansion of the universal journey will infinitely unravel into your ear. Sounds and progression begin their gallop, and you can even hear the gallop in it. Their space time continuum grooves seem internal and external, really, as if they reach the doom or stoner level that would be so easy. So, how do you do that? You use the synthesizer to invoke flute that doesn't exist. Grounding this eastern realm of reality while punching deep below the weight of the overall groove. It's exceptionally well done, even from the use of lightning of the toms. They lighten them up, lightning. Bleh. The toms are really really subtle, and it kind of
Mm-hmm.
reaches that Middle Eastern flair. It gives it's as if you're experiencing the band as both the vessel you're traveling in and within the vessel these people that are traveling, this band. So I was trying to say, well, they're out, they also invoke the space out there, but that's kind of hard to audio
Yeah.
articulate. So I'll it's just it gives this vessel spirit for the journey as well as kind of a myth. So that's where I am. Let's go to Deb, who's never been to
Yeah.
Greece.
No, I haven't, but um, yeah, Greek psychedelia. It's just so interesting. We've had a few Greek bands on here, and they're usually very deep.
Mhm.
They're not doing like K-pop music, right? Um, and it's no surprise that when you read about them that their influences are Pink Floyd, Hawkwind, but how about Alan Parsons Project? I mean,
Mhm.
interesting, right? Yeah, and that desert rock, and it always surprises me. And then I have to remember where Greece really is on the map because I just always liken it to be just in Europe, not on the eastern side of Europe. So it's very easy to get to Tunisia and places like that. I mean, closer than Rhode Island probably is to us.
Yeah.
So, that part of the world I've never explored. So I have to remind myself to look at the map and get a frame of reference there. Their original name was Dust. And then their next name was Then Temple. I'd rather have them called this, even though I don't know how to pronounce it. What do you say their name? Nexa,
Nexitris.
Nexitris. Um, it grew on me. Um, I think the opening song, Celestial Gaze, was beautiful. It set a tone, but it didn't really set an expectation that I was then disappointed as you got further into it. Very layered, like you were saying, Mark. I would be interesting to listen to each layer by itself to maybe appreciate each instrument a little bit more before listening to it all together.
Mhm.
Uh, of course, I have to say the flute was appropriate here, Mark.
Yeah.
It was very appropriate flautist in these pieces. Um, and I surprisingly enjoyed the musical aspect aside from the vocals. And I like music more when it's the whole, you know, collection of vocals and instruments. But even the parts that, there was no singing, there was no vocals, there was no lyrics, whatever. It was very enjoyable and different. I I think that even though they draw on psychedelia, I find it original in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah, I have this thing. If you're not hooked in two songs, the nature
Yeah.
of the project being how engaging it is musically, I fear for your music soul. I just do. If that was your, the dimension of diversity within the sculpture of this vessel's path is astoundingly connected within each piece. So,
Mm.
again, another hard thing to pull off. Um, they're buried bear this burden of the tag stoner rock, all right, sort of
Yeah.
because they're from Greece and the
Yeah.
background, but the background of it is all kind of sitting in this blues riff kind of thing, which is, you know it's a very tiny instrument, part of the out of this world arrangements that are going on in the arsenal they have. um what did I say? That V is an incredible piece of progressive rock that's nurtured in an Eastern influence of synth, acting like strings that aren't there. It's acting, the drums are acting like there's some sort of ancient rite, and the
Yes.
guitar and bass are acting in a tenacity and velocity of the actual groove of the vessel. So again, lurches through sound, time, and these soundscapes. So, um, it's one of those very underappreciated progressive rock bands that have been going around for a decade now.
Mm.
But I got this feeling there's this cross generational gap that they could probably transcend. Um,
Yeah.
Psychedelic properties that are like the unseen spine of space, holding invisible lines and patterns that are best left unimaginable. But here, left to brilliant, fulfilling, and spacious, infinite sound. Utopian structures for sure is exactly what V is. And this is four guys. You got guitar, vocal, keyboard, synthesizer, bass, vocal, and just drums, percussions kind of thing. So everything else is being put through those keyboards. So you got your Alan Parsons,
Hmm.
you got,
Yep.
all those influences there, which
Yep.
brings that progressive level to a whole new piece. So how do you follow up something like this? So we start out with blues. We got this progressive space rock, and we don't do enough. I don't know, ferocious dancing. Uh, this is snapped ankles, hard times, furious dancing. It's time to enter the club of hard times, furious dancing. Bring your memory of the prodigy, your favorite careless body moves, which I was frequent in and told to leave the dance floor because it was embarrassing, and fever for ever increasing, pulsating, throbbing, non gristle. Leave all your fret, worry, and regret. Have any kind of toxic drink you can pronounce easily after the 30 minutes that you've been on the floor because you'll be too exhausted to speak anything long. Is it's time to thin your perspective, dull your senses, and lift your body motion into a continual onslaught of electronic tempo, bass, and deliberately industrial vocal incantation to exercise your commonplace drone demons. Enter the shamanistic forest club of deprogramming by electronic programming. Huh? What?
Mhm.
Wait a minute. Ah, fuck it. If it's kind of cool, all right. Who cares if it slightly bends the sense of reality? It's art, ferocity, fine communion of bent sound that you'll feel your way through eventually, like that very forest they claim to have hailed from. I'm sure that's metaphorically speaking, I assume. We can stand still, hold the line of beauty, form, and beat. No small accomplishment in a world as challenging as this one. Hard times require furious dancing. Each of us is proof. That's Alice Walker. Hard times require furious dancing back in 2010. That would be a book. I'm assuming I didn't go read it, but that's their stance for this record because this band's been around a little bit. The music ranges from frenzied, hypnotic, hold to punchy pop, post punk, tribal grooves. Yeah, say that a couple of times. Where the vocal moniker that would normally be a punk driven thing is replaced by this digital augmented oralization that sort of depropagandizes the evil establishment. the evil establishment, get back to nurture of the trees, life, and that's which we should hold more truthful rather than the exploits and needs and necessities and false desires. Well, I like that shit. It's hard to measure the soundscape of such things as they come in this record, but I will say there is one element that seemed like it was missing for me, but I assume it was to avoid the commerciality of the machine. Where's the fucking drop? Where's the thing that brings me back from the edge or sends me over the edge? It never does that. It kind of just stays and then it just fades. The pressurized moments that elevate tracks like Dancing in Transit, although I don't recommend it. And where's the Kegner? The Kegner? Oh my God. Why can't I say the word now?
I know.
Okay.
I know. I don't.
All right. So anyway, the Kegner, right? Which translates to the defecator, the spoiler of scenes, lovely scenes like the nativity. That's right. These are those little ceramic things that a person is taking a shit. That's the Kegner. And
I
on
have
that
on my
note,
notes. I have on my notes.
Why don't you go there, Deb?
Oh my God. Well, I'm going to try to put on my positive hat.
You didn't go to clubs and raves and that?
I don't know. I'm too old for that. But let's talk about them first of all, because I find them interesting. All right. You kept using the word shamanistic and forest dwellers and all this. Well, they perform in shamanistic costumes. And all I could think of was Spinal Tap. I'm sorry, but
you are really ready for that sequel, aren't you?
I really am. I've referenced it many times, but this was hilarious to me because it kept my sense of humor while I was listening to this when I kept thinking of Spinal Tap. And so they've been known to, in their live performances, use instruments made out of logs.
Log synths.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you know where they got their name from?
No.
This is great. And this is why I'm going to give them, my review went from meh to cool. The movie Misery, snapped ankles. James Caan gets his legs broken. And so I find that to be a great sense of humor that somebody has and very punk, So that being said, I enjoyed the vocals. I liked a lot of the instruments that they were using. Personal Responsibility had a Korn feel to me, and I like Korn. The beginning of Where's the Kaginer? And then I have What is a Kaginer? Thanks, Mark. Now I know. I don't know if I wanted to. Really? You could have made it sound like something else, but first 1 minute was enough for me. And that's kind of where this album left me, with the anxiety producing redundancy that I don't like. I get
so
that.
you're just supposed to lose yourself in the.
I can't.
No.
Yes. Like I said.
You know what, though? It says at the bottom there's a moniker, accountants not welcome, I think.
Okay, well, leave me off of it from now on. I liked Smart World. That was that had like a Talking Heads quality there. Closely Observed. I like that because it was slower. It was more hollow, round fullness than what punk usually gives you.
Correct.
So all in all, if I could get past the repetitiveness of some of the stuff and maybe get more familiar with the songs, it might not be so abrasive to me because I like all the other elements of it. Okay. So and I love their name. That is so clever.
So as I sit and ponder how to best articulate my final assessment of this rather engaging tech club post-punk groover, I want you to realize that it's got punk. It Prodigy had punk, right? So that's why I could give you that example.
Yeah,
I
yes,
still come
yes.
back to the scene of the crime, the club, the way to just let go and become part of the great amoeba of flesh and preposterous music thumping and pulsating through every pore. There's just something wonderfully freeing when it comes to that. I don't know, when it's done this well and not taken too far, because some of these take it too far, it lasts too long. Chemical Brothers can go on forever, and this kind of Snapped Ankles was careful to make it slightly different, give you sparks and ingenuity with it, which is part of the charm. As for the part I'm thinking, a visit to a live show would elevate the connection to everything here. And it's been duly noted that they will be appearing in the intoxicating club Flesh nowhere near me any fucking time soon.
Okay, good. Because
So
I
my
wasn't
only
gonna.
recourse is to drop this on the stereo on a summer's night and let the hard times bring me down to the club of Mark's living room. Won't you join me?
Mhm,
I don't know why you would, but whatever.
mhm. I'm
So,
busy that day.
yeah, sorry, Mark, I have the flu. The additional three, which you
Okay.
fast forwarded to. Let's start off with the obvious one, as the reference at the beginning. Spin Doctors, Face Full of Cake. They had an album back in 2013, which was 12 years ago. I can't say I even
Wow.
took a chance on it. I had no notice that it was even something that was forthcoming or available. Quintessentially, the first three records is where my journey came from, went, and ended. The first album was fun, romp, and it slowly declined in a lyrical vocal connection for me. But when I saw the title of this one, I thought, well, you're gonna 2025, okay. Let's open. It's. I thought pocket full of kryptonite, right? Be damned. Open the box. It can't be that poisonous, can it? What comes out to me and stands out to me is that the band and production merging they got cool, they got clever, and consumptive. Although there's a bit of loose, there's not much loose jangle here as to the prior records. There's
Correct.
great songs like "Still a Gorilla."
Munching leaves like a caterpillar. Can't come, but you got that thriller. I might be a monkey, but you might be a killer. You might be human, but you're
Really well written, double parked. But I'm
Mhm.
wondering where the vocal went. Not that the
Yeah.
vocal was anything that was extremely good to begin with, but there was
Correct.
breaks and pitch. Even pitchiness works. Ask Neil Young. Don't sell it to me just to not make a mistake. You know, I think of like Richard Marx. Don't mean nothing. He whoops. That's not exactly well pitched, but it works. And
Yeah.
that's Pocket Full of Kryptonite, right? By the way, there was, when I referred to three albums, there's one before Pocket Full of Kryptonite, which is good, better, best, and then there's like five records kind of in a row where they were still alive but barely kicking. So that's where I was on this. But let's check out with Dan.
I enjoyed it. I felt it was a departure from what I thought the Spin Doctors was going to be for sure. Um, I liked a bunch of their songs. While You Were Holding the Moon Over Me was one of my favorites. When you got turmoil on your mind, those were a little bit slower, but I liked Still a Gorilla a lot. That had me
Mm-hmm.
getting ready for other songs. Because was it at the beginning? Was it the
Yeah,
first
yep,
song?
yeah,
It
pretty
was near the
much.
beginning.
Yeah,
So
third song maybe, second or third song in maybe.
Well, I kind of chuckled at one of the titles on one of the songs. Uh, I think it was right before "She Don't Love Me Anymore," and maybe it's because you wrote a song. I liked you better when your butt was big
Bigger. Yeah. Yeah.
or bigger. Yeah,
Yeah. I liked you better
um,
when your butt was big.
it was bigger. Yeah, yeah. So I thought it was clever and a little different. It wasn't formulatic. Like I thought, oh, the Spin Doctors, okay, what are they gonna give me here? I didn't realize it had been 12 years since their last album, but yeah, it's worth a try. I think people should take a listen.
Yeah. Yeah. The Buddha on the lawn, that kind of lost me, but
Yeah,
yeah, I was double parked, really well written,
yeah,
how and not refrain driven kind of. So it's so
yes.
all right. So next up comes Panchico Ginkgo. I don't know. Should you rhyme your name with your album? I'm not sure I'm into that. But I didn't know this band existed. No idea. British indie rock that starts off with this in the airspace of Radiohead.
Hmm.
Um, and it doesn't hit the shoegaze, kind of definitely dreamscapey, that indie pop environment, and then takes some spins to hip hop and groove trickiness, which was fresh. It was cool, extremely memorable. But what does all this juxtapositioning that happens after that mean in the grand scheme of attracting listeners? Are you it's an attention deficit disorder? Where the generational gap here, or is it a very well put together album that's unapologetically just doing whatever the hell it wants to do in the indie rock? I mean, indie rock is there? It's such that I think that's a worse term than progressive rock. To be honest with you, I don't.
I do too. I don't know. I don't think it really has any boundaries, so it's a little confusing.
Yeah, where? So you picked this up. You obviously
Mhm.
had no idea who they were.
Nope.
Where what you're listening? What are you? Where are you on this?
Okay. Well, they actually formed in the late 90s as teenagers under a different name. And then they kind of went on their own way and normal everyday jobs. And that was like right after 2000. And in 2000, they had released a CD called Death Metal. And it somebody found it in a thrift shop in 2016 and went on the internet trying to find these four people. And it took 4 years on this internet mystery search for these band members. So fast forward to 2020, when these four guys find out that people are making them a phenom and they didn't even know, they got back together in 2021 as Panchico. And their influences are anime and Japanese otaku culture is I think that's
Yeah.
the lead singer. He draws. Oh, and the name Panchico is a Japanese arcade game. So
Okay, I had this thing where I with Yu-Gi-Oh cards or some shit like that.
yeah,
You know, that's
okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And they
that's
probably
yeah, yeah.
have wouldn't be surprised if they release an album that has those cards on there. But yeah, their influences, Radiohead, uh, Super Furry Animals. Then you
Okay.
got Joy Division, New
Mm.
Order,
I didn't get Joy
and
Division.
Nirvana. I know, and Nirvana. I mean, quite the combination of things, right?
Hmm.
The overall feeling of the album was was fun and good and different. And I liked Honeycomb was so catchy, that
Yeah, yeah,
song.
honeycomb.
Honeycomb, yeah, that's a catch in the song. I don't need your fuss or flesh, dancing as you know it is tied on the rain that is soaking you through.
Yep. Vinegar is real jammy. Rise and Feel was a little bit more sweet and calm. So I want to go back to this death metal CD from 2000 and find out why all these people needed to find the four of them and see really where they were then and what happened to them as they aged 20 years and they became, 30 some year olds that we're trying to make new music together. So another good album for the week, in my opinion.
So, there's a lyrical line that says, "Do you still float those paragraphs?" Huh? Maybe this isn't as digestible that I thought, because well, it's an easier digestible Radiohead. Let's explore this a little bit further. Even in the name of the album, which is apparently a tree that's used in curing blood disorders.
What? It is?
That is a
Oh,
ginkgo.
ginkgo biloba?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So is that why we got all this watery synth in places? Is that the blood? Is that,
I don't know.
is everything gurgling in perpetuity? Oh, I don't know. I still don't know. I think I've listened to this album now 7 times. It was gonna be in the top 3. And I was like, how am I gonna write about this? I can be, my usual self and be like this in this vein. So I'm gonna keep it there. I kind of think that this, as the years move on, I'm going to be like, well, look at this album. Well, this is invented, but that Radiohead theft. It's not theft; it's just influence, right? But that's a
Right.
hard one. If you're going to be influenced by Radiohead, don't sound like them. Vocally wise, in the first couple, you definitely sound like Radiohead. Tommy.
Yeah, I agree. Radiohead should just stay Radiohead.
Well,
Everybody leave
Radiohead's
it
trying to
alone.
not be Radiohead from time to time, so
I
that
know.
should tell you something, right?
Yeah,
That's why no one sounds like the Beatles. They have moments of
that's
the Beatles, but they don't sound like the Beatles.
true.
All right. Third and final one of the afternoon. Museum of Light, Diviner. The second band releasing albums in the month to take their recording into Norway. What? Yeah. The album for today influenced the band went to Norway as well, and that band is Idle Heirs. You can check that out. I'll put the link in there. So they went to Norway too. Why? Is it a
I don't
safe space for doom rock, sludge rock, and stoner experimentalization? Is there a safety chamber? Okay, there's something in the water, so I got to go there. This is a little more experience and introspective for stoner doom rock band. I really like their pace, attention to spatial concepts, and the driving of a signature riff. While the vocal harmonies don't give you goosebumps by any means, or lead you into some dark, dingy place where you're going to be terrorized, they do offer a refuge between engulfing musicianship and powerhouse musicianship that permeates pretty much throughout the record. The final 2 tracks, which start with the title track, let you know they can hang in the hard metal stoner doom rock setting anywhere they want, and they're here to get the money, to get paid. One of the dumbest lyrics I've ever heard. Get the money, get paid. That one they should have redone. You get the money, you get paid. No, first you get the money, then you get the power, and then you get the women. That's how it works.
That's it. Yes.
But their perplexing need to enter light is excellent, and it's going to serve them well, because it's kind of with this sophomore record in the Seattle scene. They don't sound like a typical stoner doom band. There's no question that it can all change in one breath of connection, and they're fairly close to that. Deb?
Well, yeah, I never heard of these people before, obviously. Yeah, what I was kind of surprised to find out that they were from Seattle. They're, reading about them on they're influenced by Scandinavian landscape. They want to bring in hallucinogenic auroras, I should say, into their music. And they recorded this in Norway, but they were inspired daily by their cold plunges in the sea. I'm like, wow, no,
Oh.
no, thank you. No, thank you.
You
A
don't want
lot
to
colder
shrivel
than,
up.
yeah, a lot colder than Lake Erie right now, I'm sure. Um, Alyssa Alvarez, I think is that the singer's name?
Yeah, the names are somewhat
Yeah, yes, exactly.
big,
Um,
I don't know.
I was disappointed in the vocal part of this album. There was some spoken word in there that I'm not big on, but I guess one of them is a poet, like a an educated poet of
Mhm.
some sort. But the vocalist, I was disappointed when I found out that Alvarez was trained operatically, which I don't get that at all in this album.
No,
I don't feel any of that. I don't even feel like it's being held back. I don't feel like if you waited long enough, that would come forth in the vocals. So that being said, um, I liked Blunt Force Drama. That was a good song. Um, it just, I'd have to say, out of all the albums this week, it was my least favorite, even after Snapped Ankles. So
yeah, it,
yeah,
it held its stoner line to some degree. They got a little bit of, yeah. The first album is Horizon. You may want to check that out, and you're out there in the music multiverse. It's a different album, sort of. But I still the operatic side. I still don't get. I don't know what's.
but I mean, we did have the shaman costumes, and then I just picture them dancing with Vikings, and I just didn't take it real seriously.
And
So
then Exotress comes in and takes them on the spaceship, and
yeah,
everyone's gone.
and 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 they drop Grace off at Venus so she can
Yeah,
have some
and then
wine.
all we're left with is spin doctors. Fuck.
Oh God.
Anyway, what did you think of these albums? Let us know in the comments. Like what you like, leave what you know behind. Subscribe to the channel for way more stuff. We got all kinds of things coming up, especially this Tuesday of Sound Minds. I'll be talking with Vyacheslav, Mr. Christopher, regarding
Oh,
jazz. It'll be a great interview. We're on the web at Beyond
nice.
Your. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course, articles, videos, podcasts is just days away. Go Beyond Your Radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. I'll thank Dan for 17 straight. Join me tomorrow for Unknown Sundays featuring Matmos.
Hmm,
Thanks for watching and happy listening.
bye.